In today's video I'm playing through all of Wario Land 4. This game was released back in 2001, only a year after the previous entry in the series. It's got pretty great reviews, so let's start the game and see what trouble Wario gets himself into this time. It started with Wario and his Wario-mobile driving off after reading in a newspaper that a mysterious pyramid had just been discovered. And of course he went there with the hopes of grabbing as much treasure as he could get his grubby hands on. The entry passage was the first bit of the pyramid I went to, and the first level here was the Hall of Hieroglyphs. This level mainly just taught me the basics of what a Wario game is. It had me charging around using Wario's iconic shoulder barge, and it also had me picking up and throwing enemies around. And I also learned that I could pick up what I can only assume is a jacket potato and throw that to clear my path as well. Overall I would say that Wario's moveset in this game is really nice, and I can definitely see where Wario World got some of its moves from. I really like how you can roll off a slope as well, that's pretty fun. In each level there were 4 of these little triangle pieces for me to find, and I would need to collect all of them to unlock the next level, so I needed to keep my eye out for them. As well as them, I also needed to grab this ghost key as well in levels to be able to proceed, but once I reached the end of the first level, I jumped on this weird blue frog looking thing, and all of a sudden there was a bomb and also a timer, so I got a little bit stressed. I put 2 and 2 together though, and realised I needed to get out, so I threw this potato and crawled back to where I started the level, which thankfully got Wario to safety. I don't know what I'd do if Wario got blown up there, I'd be pretty devastated. My little ghost key unlocked this door, and after going through it I found this weird set of robot characters who had some mini games for me to play. I wasn't really expecting this, but I thought, you know what, let's give it a try, so I played this baseball one first. And when I started it, I was kind of confused and wondered why the whole screen was sideways, but I quickly realised that, oh yeah, this is a Game Boy Advance game, so they probably wanted me to turn my nice little Indigo Game Boy around, but of course I was playing it docked on the Switch, so yeah, that wasn't happening. So instead, I just turned my head sideways, which didn't really work, but I did at least get a few coins from it, which was nice. Although at this point, I didn't really know what I was going to spend them on, I was just doing it for the love of the minigame. The next minigame was called Wario Hop, and it basically had Wario hopping around like a bunny, avoiding things like rocks, old men, and crazy looking cacti. Weirdly, this was almost like a rhythm game, as it had me jump into the music, although it basically is just the Google Dinosaur game. The third and final minigame is this matching one, where I had to look at this custom Wario and then remember things like what sort of nose and eyes he had. After I lost, I was going to give it another go, but I found out that playing all of those games meant that I'd spent all of my money, so I couldn't afford another play. So instead, I carried on and headed through the next door, which took me to this item shop, where I could spend the coins that I just earned. I decided to save my coins, but smiles were free, which was quite sweet. And just after I left the shop, I faced my first boss in this game, which was this weird pink vegetable looking thing, and with only a minute on the clock, I had to defeat it pretty quickly. And for some reason it took me a good 30 seconds to realise that I had to charge into it to deal damage. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I was pretty slow on the uptake there, but when I did start dealing damage to it, its face turned really scary, and I suppose I really shouldn't have been surprised by this, considering that this is a Wario game after all. I ended up running out of time here, which was really sad, as I was really close to defeating it, but on my next try there was no messing around, so I managed to defeat it. Wario then had a bit of a flex in front of this nice flower clear screen, and defeating that boss completed the little intro section of the game, so I was now in the main area of the pyramid. Although there was another golden pyramid in the middle of the room, so I guess there's 2 pyramids. There were 4 passageways I could go through, being the Emerald Passage, the Ruby Passage, the Topaz Passage, as well as the Sapphire Passage. I could choose which one I wanted to play through first, so I decided to go counterclockwise and start with the Emerald one. The first level here was called Palm Tree Paradise, and this was quite a nice little starting level, but having to run back to the start after finishing a level was kind of stressful in this game. After that I went to the Wild Flower Fields, and what was interesting about this level was what happened when this enemy threw an apple at Wario, as he ended up transforming. He also got stung by bees in this level which made him levitate, and like, why does that always happen to him? Like, surely that can't be nice. But surprisingly these are actually temporary power-ups, and I could use Wario's newly gained weight to smash through these tough grey blocks. Doing this got me a lot of Zelda rupees, and also found this purple pipe which led me to a little bonus room. These rooms have treasure that I could get by solving puzzles. For example, this one had me throwing this old guy into the air to hit these switches. Some of these can actually be kind of difficult, but I did enjoy completing them. The next level, the Mystic Lake, was pretty scary as it had me swimming around trying to avoid these crazy looking sea creatures that fancied eating a bit of Wario. There was also another transformation for Wario in this level, which I'm sure he was looking forward to, as when this enemy smashed Wario over the head with this hammer, he turned into a spring, which let me jump really high. Don't worry Wario, Mario has to do this type of thing in his games as well, you're not the only one. There was now only 1 level left before the boss at the Emerald Passage, but just before that, I headed to the sound room to play this CD that I'd found in the previous level, and the video that played in the top right was actually really scary. Like, what's with the doll and the guy dressed as Wario? Like, what am I even watching right now? But that is exactly the type of weirdness I love to see from a Wario game. I mean, just look at one of the bosses from Wario World. That's the sort of thing I'm looking for. There's a CD in every level, so I tried to find as many as I could while I was playing. But anyway, the final level at the Emerald Passage was the Monsoon Jungle, which had me jumping around on these swinging wooden platforms. And once I finished that level, it was finally time for the boss here, which was this piranha plant looking thing. And I actually found this fight kinda difficult, especially when it turned Wario into a zombie. as I didn't realise that I had to go into the light to heal him. I eventually ended up dying here, which is pretty sad, so before I tried fighting it again, I headed to the item shop to see what I could spend my hard-earned coins on. I went with the Visor Man, as he looked pretty cool, and before the fight started, the Mr. Game & Watch looking shopkeeper brought him in and he's attacked a decent amount of damage to the boss. You'd think after doing that I'd be able to defeat the boss pretty quickly, right? Well, I ended up dying again, so yeah, that was a waste of 5 coins.
I hate this game so much.
But on my next try, with only 1 heart left, I just about managed to beat it. But because of how long the fight went on for, I only got 2 of the 3 treasure chests, which I wasn't too worried about. But this does actually affect the ending of the game, which I'll talk about a bit later on. With that boss defeated, I started the Ruby Passage, and the first level here was the Curious Factory, and this place definitely needed some health and safety regulations, as Wario ended up getting crushed, which turned him into a pancake. He could float around like this, and he kinda reminds me of Mr. Potato Head in Toy Story 3. Also, there were these enemies that lit Wario on fire, which meant that he could break these fire blocks. I really do feel bad for Wario in this game, like every power up he gets looks really painful. The next level wasn't nice for him either though, as it took place in this toxic landfill. So yeah, I really wouldn't be surprised if Wario caught something from being down here too long. Destroying loads of stuff for Spring Wario in this level was pretty fun, and what's interesting about the next level was that Wario could become a snowball and roll off of these slopes. I had to do this to destroy these ice blocks, and overall, I really enjoyed this level. Although my favourite level here in the Ruby Passage was definitely Pinball Zone, as this whole level is all about playing pinball using Wario's iconic throw ability. And I don't know why, but I really enjoyed this. But the ending was kind of stressful, as you have to complete not 1 but 2 pinball rooms before the timer ran out. There's plenty of time to do it though, and after rolling around a bit I got to the end of the level. The boss here at the Ruby Passage was this bird, and after destroying the clock it was in, I had to catch the eggs it dropped and throw them at it. If I let an egg hatch, the ducks could actually damage me quite a bit, so I tried to get rid of them as quickly as I could. So after that, I moved on to the Topaz Passage. The first level was sort of toy themed, I guess, and had me matching shapes, which I could just about handle, although there were these weird looking cat blocks that were watching me, so yeah, that was a bit creepy. And somehow there was a toy Wario driving around as well, but after climbing around a bit, I made it to the frog statue, and then quickly made my way to the end. And the next level also had a colourful look to it, although I'm not really a huge fan of the gimmick here. Basically it was all board game themed, and I could use these blocks to roll a number which would move Wario's position on the board, I guess, on the bottom of the screen. I could use it to activate certain abilities, like the fire one, and I could also use it to activate certain blocks. There were hints on the signs of what to try and land on, but to be honest I didn't really find this level that fun. And at the very end of it, I had to keep rolling numbers to try and get to the end of the board, and it was so annoying whenever I got the lightning one, as that almost ended up killing me. And what I also didn't realise during this bit was that I had to perfectly land on the goal, otherwise I'd be sent back, and of course I ended up landing right back on the lightning bolt, like that's just my luck. After rolling a 1 though, I finally got out of there and finished the level. The next 2 levels were alright I guess, with one being drawing and art themed, while the other one was just kinda weird. During this I could basically race for dominoes before they all fell down to earn a bit of treasure. So yeah, I'd say the levels here in the Topaz Passage weren't some of my favourites. They were just really gimmicky, but I do kinda like how different they are from a lot of the other levels. The boss here kept to the toy theme, and it was this little mouse inside of a giant teddy bear. I had to throw these enemies at it to deflate it, which I felt a bit bad about, but it had to be done. That mouse had to go. With that boss defeated though, I started the final passage being the Sapphire one. And I quite like the setting of the first level here, although I don't really think the giant floating pirate skull suited it, but oh well I guess. Wario ended up being bit by this bat here, which transformed him into one, which let me fly around for a bit. And while I was trying to escape the level, I ended up running out of time, which I thought would just straight up kill me, but instead it started taking my treasure away instead. So I got a move on and rushed to the portal to get out of there. I really liked the next level though, as I got to float around on some magic carpets. Sadly there was no genie to grant all my wishes, but I really enjoyed this level. And the next one had a bit of a freeze flame galaxy thing going on. It started off being all fire and lava themed, and then when I got to the blue frog at the end of it, it switched to a snow winter setting. And honestly this level was kinda difficult, as I just kept jumping into the lava trying to get more treasure. The final level before the boss here was called Hotel Horror, and as the name suggests, this level had me in a hotel making my way through all of these different rooms. And after that level, I spent quite a bit of my treasure playing some minigames to try and get some more coins for the next boss. I got pretty good at the matching one, although it's pretty stingy with how many coins it gave me, as I was pretty proud of the score I got, but they only ended up giving me a few coins. I do kinda wish that there was more minigames in this though, as it's kinda weird that it's just the same 3 the whole time. With the coins that I'd earned, I bought the black dragon from the item shop, and it actually dealt quite a bit of damage to the boss here. Its name was Catbat, and I'll be honest, I completely wasted that dragon item as I had no idea how to beat it when it was just a cat. Charging into it didn't seem to do much, so after I ran out of time, I looked at what to do here, and realised that all I had to do was just ground pound on its head. So on my next try, I used these waves to defeat its first phase, and then just kept ground pounding it. After that fight though, the golden pyramid finally opened, so I got to go to the golden passage. The timer immediately started the moment I got here, so with 9 minutes on the clock, I needed to find the 4 triangle pieces pretty quickly. And really this level is just a combination of a a lot of the levels that I'd played. I managed to find 3 of the triangles on my first try, and luckily they saved, so all I had to do was just go back into the level and find the final one that I was missing, alongside this key ghost that I'd forgotten to grab. And after doing that, it was now time for the final boss, and it was called the Golden Diva. And like a lot of the other bosses in this game, I found this one kinda confusing, as I had no idea what to do with the masks she dropped, but I eventually figured out that I had to throw them into the fan she was holding. But then of course after that I got stuck on another part of the fight, as she dropped this hammer and I had no idea what to do with it. You'd think you could throw it at her or something, but instead I found out that I had to throw it in the air and get hit by it to become Spring Wario, which would then let me attack her. After a couple of deaths, I got to the final part of the fight and she started destroying the floor, and I thought she'd stop at some point and leave me a little platform to stand on, but she just kept going, so I had to get a move on and quickly defeat her. And after I did that, the pyramid collapsed, so Wario alongside this cat that had been following me around quickly got out of there, and once they were safe, some of the treasure that Wario had found went into the cat, which made it turn into a princess for some reason. I don't know how that worked, but let's carry on. And what's kind of funny is that the princess's appearance is different depending on how many of the treasure chests you got from all of the boss fights in the game, and her Wario look is great. Anyway, Wario then drove off into the sunset with his bag of treasure, and it looks like he was on his way to an all-you-can-eat steak place, so you know what, good for him. And after the credits rolled, the game told me that all of the bosses had been revived, so I could try and get a bit of a different ending if I wanted to, but I decided to leave it there. So yeah, that was my entire Wario Land 4 experience, and I found this really fun. I think it was a good introduction to the franchise, but it is pretty sad that apparently the last Wario Land game came out almost 20 years ago on the Wii. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. If you liked the video, definitely consider subscribing, I'd really appreciate it, and yeah, I'll see you in the next one.